But I don't think we should run away from challenges, especially when the challenge is to improve ourselves. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start a new series entitled How to Not Screw Up Your Life. Unfortunately, many of us have learned how to screw up our lives in the most creative ways possible. And where does it get us? Nothing but sorrow, aggravation, and frustration. That is not the way to live. One of the key foundations of how to not screw up your life rests on the following, and that is this: that you must assume total responsibility for your life and how it has turned out. Obviously, we can't think about the past, it's gone. However, if this does happen and we accidentally slip into the past, we have to use this technique of saying, well, I chose to do this, or I said that, and take that responsibility. The idea here is to not blame other people, because blaming other people gets you nowhere. In fact, it puts you into negative territory. It is a total waste of time. It makes you aggravated and makes you angry and takes away, by the way, takes away, you are giving away all of your personal energy and responsibility to somebody else. You see that that is a trap that we all fell into at one time or another. In fact, the society often encourages this. What's the first thing when something happens? We want to say, who can I sue? Well, that's nice for the lawyers, and it may bring you a brief sense of, there you go. But in the end, does it really help? I'm not saying that lawyers have no use. Obviously they do in certain aspects of life. But what I'm saying is the fallback position to something not going right in your life is not to blame it on the other person. For example, something even as mundane as being rear-ended by another car usually leads us to blaming the other driver. But when we blame the other driver, what happens? We get angry, we get upset, we could get into a physical altercation, our blood pressure goes up, every bad thing that you can imagine happens. And there's no win in it for us. So the proper thing to do is to say, okay, I chose to be at this place at this particular time. And it just so happened that this unfortunate situation occurred where I was rear-ended. I was not hurt, but yes, it is a pain because we have to call the police and make a report, and our insurance companies as well. But if we can, to the extent that we can take total responsibility, even in situations like that, for being there at that time, for choosing to be there at that time, but not blaming ourselves. That's the key to this. Don't blame yourself for being there. Just say, I just take responsibility for being here at this time and this happened. Very, very, very important to accept this type of thinking, because it will lead you away from what you're used to. And you're going to have an internal fight to try to put these things into operation in your everyday lives. It's going to be very difficult. But I don't think we should run away from challenges, especially when the challenge is to improve ourselves. The next thing is, and this is one that we've talked about before, is don't abuse your time and do not allow other people to abuse your time. I have said this repeatedly in this series, that time is the most precious commodity that we have. Once it's gone, it's gone. It is the most precious commodity that we have on this earth. And we have to follow certain rules about how to use our time. And I've gone over many of these. But one of the most egregious examples of how not to use your time correctly is to not live in the present. That is, to live in the past, to have recriminations about what happened in the past, to blame yourself about what happened in the past, that gets you absolutely nowhere. And you know how I know that? Because I have done that. And it's a struggle to try to get away from that line of thinking. But I am telling you, the only thing that happens is my blood pressure goes up. The other person doesn't know that I'm suffering or doesn't realize that they've done anything wrong, and yet I am wasting my time blaming other people for certain things that happen. You've got to stay in the present. We've got to be present focused. It's just enough. It's enough to take care of the present, to live every day with all of our energies focused on accomplishing what we need to accomplish today, much less to think about the past. You can think about the past for hours. It's not going to get you anywhere. In fact, it's going to send you right into the depths of hell if you continue to do that. So use your time wisely. Ladies and gentlemen, this new way of thinking about how not to screw up your life, I think is really going to drive these points home that I've been talking to you about. It's another way of looking at what I have been saying in the previous videos. I ask you to please hit the subscribe button, make comments, because I'll read them all. I need that feedback, as much feedback as possible. I need to find out what is the most useful things that I can present to you, and in what form should they be presented to you. This is the Blue Collar Psychiatrist saying, out!